Welcome to today's video. Today we're talking about Ukraine's F-16 Viper jets and how they're rewriting the air power playbook. These F-16 Vipers are dodging Russian missiles and drones just like Maverick pulling a Cobra in Top Gun Maverick. With cutting-edge tech, mobile support vehicles, NATO's Saab 340B radar planes, and a recent shootdown of the Su-35, they're running a guerrilla-style air war. But how does their tech stack up against Russia, and what keeps these jets flying? And what's the US learning from this high-stakes game? Strap in, because we're going to go full afterburner into Ukraine's F-16 revolution with their mobile F-16 units. Ukraine's F-16s were donated by Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, and Belgium. They're Block 15 and Block 20 with midlife upgrades for the Avionics. They're powered by Pratt & Whitney F100 PW220 engines, and those push about 1,500 miles per hour or Mach 2 at 40,000 feet. Likely they have about 18 of these jets right now as of July of 2025, with up to 85 pledged from partner nations. These Vipers outclass Soviet-era MiG-29s and Su-27s hands down, and their AN/APG-66 version 2 radar likely detects these things at about 50 to 70 nautical miles. They've got pulse Doppler modes for air-to-air tracking and synthetic aperture for ground mapping. The cockpits in these F-16s, they feature a modernized glass display, so luckily that's been updated, and that's huge. With these glass displays, now you can focus on the mission. You can focus on the air-to-air task or the air-to-ground task, and a lot of the different information you need is right there on these Gucci-style glass displays, so that's just huge. Myself, having flown the Block 52 F-16, I know how important it is to have those updated avionics. I flew those on the Thunderbirds, and let me tell you, having those updates gives you the ability to look outside and make it happen. So that is exactly what these Ukrainian pilots have, and I'm happy for them that they have that. They've also got something that changes the entire game, and that is a joint helmet-mounted cueing system. I use this Avionics in the F-15E. I use it in combat. You can literally look outside, look over your canopy rail, and see a diamond over the target outside, or see a circle over friendly forces. It really increases your SA or situational awareness like nothing else. It lets you look outside and lock onto something just by looking at it. So it's really good for the AMRAAM or the AIM-9X for you to look up, see what you want. Yeah, I'll target you today. Boom, select it, and then you're ready to go. You're ready to wait for those tones for that AIM-9X, making sure you have a good heater lock, or you're looking for a good shot symbology for that AIM-120. And then you can just see it outside, you verify that that box is over top of the target, and then boom, you hammer down. And once you do that, it's like saying the F word in church. You can't take it away. But it's essentially like having Iron Man's heads-up display. It shows you everything you need right there in front of you. There's really no going back once you've used the Avionics. It's like using a smartphone and then going back to a flip phone. There's always going to be a little something missing. But the electronic warfare suite in these F-16s was likely tuned by the US Air Force's 68th Electronic Warfare Squadron, and that squadron is a beast, and they're very talented at electronic warfare. The AN/ALQ-213 is a jammer that can be on this F-16, and that can really do a doozy and disrupt the Russian S-400s and Su-35 radars. It can really do a lot of work on those, and that's likely what happened with the Su-35 that was recently shot down by that Ukrainian F-16, and we'll get to that story here in a second. I also have a full video on that for you to watch after this video. But the AN/ALR-69A radar warning receivers inside this F-16, they can help to pinpoint threats in real time, and they give you exactly what's going on in the battle space in a 360-degree view. And here's the beauty of that thing. You can actually pipe in information to that AN/ALR-69A. That's a lot to say. It's really an RWR, a radar warning receiver. You can tune that in to different airborne warning control systems that can be using massive radars to show you what's out there. And that really helps you as a pilot to maintain your battle space situational awareness. But those threats are pinpointed to you in real time, and they alert pilots to any missile locks, launches, or even radars that are out there scanning. And then the chaff and flare dispensers, those are working overtime on these F-16s, and they've got to make sure that these things are good to go. These F-16s are typically never landing at the same base that they take off from, which is an entirely new mission set, and it's an entirely new way to operate an air war. It's air power made possible by guerrilla-style warfare, and we haven't seen anything like this before. The F-16's got that fly-by-wire system that ensures precision. It's got 9G capable turns, so for dogfights, it's ready to go. And let me tell you, when you're training on that F-16, it's really a whole new mindset to understand that that stick doesn't move very much, but it is very responsive. So it essentially becomes a part of your body once you're used to it, and it's essentially like you can just think about where you want to go, little bit of pressure here, a little bit of pressure there, and it moves for you. So for me, it really felt like it was an extension of my body. Once I sat inside that F-16 cockpit, put my hands on the stick and throttle, it was essentially like strapping on a rocket for a body part. So some of you out there might think you already have that, but let me tell you, you have nothing like the F-16. But weapons are where the F-16 shines. For such a small package and maneuverable package and mobile package, as we've seen with these different mobile vehicles, but weapons are really where this F-16 shines. So it's able to carry the AIM-120 Charlie. That is an AMRAAM with likely an over 50 nautical mile range with an unclassified number. It can get up to Mach 4, that's 3,000 miles per hour, no big deal. And it uses active radar homing to lock on and kill Russian jets beyond visual range, reaching out and touching them at 50 miles plus. That is a massive capability for Ukraine. The AIM-9 is also very capable, and Ukraine might have the AIM-9X. That is classified right now. It's confirmed that they have the AIM-9 Mike. That is still a capable Sidewinder. However, it doesn't have that high off bore sight capability or Hobbs, where you can look basically to the side and get an AIM-9X off. But the AIM-9 is very capable in close range encounters, say within 15 nautical miles or so. That thing is fast though. It can go up to Mach 2.5, that's 1900 miles per hour, and they're infrared guided for that close-in dogfight to really get in there when you're inside the phone booth in a knife fight and you got to make every hit count. That AIM-9X is what you want to throw at the enemy for sure. But this F-16 isn't just an air-to-air beast. It also carries a GBU-39B. That's a small diameter bomb. That's a 250-pound glide bomb with a 60 nautical mile range, maybe even more. I've carried these things in combat, and the very interesting thing about these is you can release them, and sometimes they'll actually turn away from the target as they set themselves up for the best delivery parameters, and they'll basically hover around until they're ready, and then they'll go in and strike. Sometimes the time of fall of these things can be 2 minutes plus, so it's definitely a very unique, very differentiated weapon, and it's smaller, so you can really minimize the collateral damage. You can focus in on very precise, very pinpoint targets. So think subsonic speeds going in and targeting bunkers or targeting Russian armor, and then recent photos show some F-16s with AIM-9s only for defensive patrols, likely maybe more focused on drones. They don't want to waste an AMRAAM versus drones, but those AMRAAMs are confirmed for their air-to-air kills on that recent shot of that Su-35. And it's also said that Ukraine may get the AGM-158 JASSM cruise missile if they don't have it already. That's got a 250 nautical mile range, and it can launch off of the F-16. It is a subsonic weapon, and it travels at about 550 miles per hour, but it's stealthy with 1,000-pound warheads, and it's rumored to be in Ukraine already, but that's unconfirmed. But how do these F-16s stay in the fight under constant Russian bombardment? Again, changing the rules of air power, which is just wild. There's going to be so many lessons learned from this, and that's why the US is watching this very closely. But Ukraine's mobile support vehicles are the backbone of their F-16 force. Likely each squadron has about 10 vehicles, and they turn highways and other pieces of concrete into air bases. Let's break it down. So 2 sets of munitions and maintenance units, each with a 4x4 Iveco daily workshop truck. Think a rolling garage with diagnostic computers, hydraulic testers, and weapon prep kits for checking AIM-120s and GBU-39s and every other weapon that these F-16s could carry. It's really like a pit crew at the Daytona 500. These people that are working inside these mobile trucks have to be dialed in into all these different weapons, and they have to have everything so organized that when an F-16 pulls up with a varied weapon, they gotta know where to go, and they gotta know where to go quick to get this thing airborne again, either back into the fight or getting it to move to a different base so they don't get struck by any type of Russian drones or missiles. It's really a high stakes NASCAR game that these mobile trucks are playing, and currently they're winning at that game. These trucks also carry nitrogen carts for tire pressure, battery chargers, and tools for avionics repairs. They move at 60 miles per hour on rough terrain, so they got to be good drivers as well. So not to mention, are you having to make sure that F-16 is good to go? You got to get yourself and all your tools out of there as well, so you don't get targeted by drones or Russian missiles. So again, it's like NASCAR meets the biggest rally race of all time, going over rough terrain. There's no rules. You just got to make it happen and be an athlete. This is really next level maintaining of these F-16s. Maintainers already have to be dialed in. They have to be on their game every day. I saw this while I was flying on the Thunderbirds. Those maintainers, they had to be sharp. There had to be zero mistakes. There was no room for error. And that's an even higher level of that in combat when lives are on the line of your entire country, not just the lives of the pilots flying the jets like what we saw on the Thunderbirds, or keeping the crowd safe, that's obviously important. But now an entirely new level of that while you're protecting your own country, and you've got to make sure that your mobile station stays completely intact from those Russian attacks. This is really a whole new mindset of constantly being in combat operations that's going to forge the Ukrainian Air Force into a guerrilla air power force that we haven't seen before. And these mobile F-16 trucks operates in pairs. So they've got a 4x4 Iveco truck with a 1-ton hydraulic crane that can lift 600-pound AMRAAMs or 250-pound GBU-39s onto the F-16's 9 different hardpoints. So not only are these trucks extremely tough for off-roading, they've also got a built-in crane. I mean, can these things get any better? It's essentially like Transformers just got steroids and now they're at a whole new level. This is insane. So again, these trucks can hit somewhere around 75 miles per hour, likely up to 50 or 60 miles per hour across rough terrain. They haul 4 crew members as well. They've got spare parts and they've also got fuel bladders. So of all the different things, we're adding on fuel bladders. But then there's a star of the show. So if those trucks weren't enough, there's a mission planning complex truck that is a 6x6 truck. It cruises at about 50 miles per hour. It's got 7 workstations with encrypted laptops, satellite comms capable, and a 20 kilowatt generator for mission planning. It's also got a 4x4 capable trailer that is a camper van that has bunks, a kitchenette, and climate control for crew rest during 100 nautical mile plus relocations. Again, you blast those F-16s off, you get them airborne as they're supposed to be airborne, and now they're out there striking targets, they're taking down drones. As soon as they get airborne, you got to get in your trucks and then beat feet as fast as you can 100 miles away for a relocation to then catch those jets as they land in a couple hours. This is just next level logistics, and this is changing the game into a guerrilla style warfare bonanza. It's insane. These vehicles are rugged. They've got reinforced suspensions for Ukraine's bombed out roads. Keep in mind, they're not traveling across nice, beautiful highways like we have here in the United States. They're going across roads that have been struck by Russian drones to make it extremely difficult to travel across the entire country of Ukraine. Setup for these things, once they get to the base they're going to, is incredibly fast. They can set these things up in under 30 minutes. The cranes will lift munitions, the workshops run diagnostics, and the command posts start to plot the missions. Everything is like a well-oiled machine. So loading a missile that used to take 12 people at a typical base now takes 3, thanks to the different cranes that are intertwined into these vehicles. It's like Top Gun Maverick's pit crew. They're keeping Vipers airborne while dodging Russian strikes. And this mobility lets F-16s refuel, rearm, and launch from anywhere, making them nearly impossible to pin down. Oh, and then force multipliers. So we've got these mobile guerrilla-style F-16s, and now we're multiplying them with Sweden's 2 Saab 340Bs airborne and warning control planes. They've got ASC 890s with Erie ASA radars. Those are massive ASA radars, and this is likely how that F-16 took down that Su-35. But these Saabs can cruise at 300 miles per hour, 20,000 feet. They detect targets up to 300 miles away, or maybe even more, like that Russian Su-35 that they targeted 155 miles out from their actual aircraft. The PS-890 radar, it scans 150 degrees per side. It tracks air and sea targets, and it prioritizes the threats of the day. So if they're going up against a Su-35, they'll prioritize the radar for that. They're going up against Su-34 bombers, they'll prioritize the radars for that. And they direct F-16s via a Link 16 data link for real-time targeting. But some of Ukrainians' F-16s currently lack the integration with the Link 16, but that Saab can translate targeting data via voice commands via a secure voice interface with F-16s, or they can pump that information to French Mirage 2000 jets, and those Mirage 2000 jets can get that information to the F-16s that don't have it. Likely over the next few months or a year, all F-16s going to Ukraine will have this Link 16 adaptation. And those Saabs themselves are floating command posts. They enable ambushes by feeding those F-16s precise targeting data, but they're also vulnerable, so they have to stay far away from Russian battle space. The Russian S-300 with a 186 mile range, Mach 7.5 or 5,600 mile per hour missiles can reach out and touch those Saabs, so they've got to be very careful, and the F-16s have to be aware that one of their primary missions is to protect those Saabs at all times. When those Saabs are pumping that information, they give F-16s eyes beyond the horizon. They boost situational awareness like no other, but Russia's not going down easy. The Russian Kraskua 4 jammer has a 186 nautical mile range, and that can disrupt the Link 16 transfer from that Saab to the F-16s. But Ukraine's pilots adapt with voice coordination if they start to encounter that type of jamming. So it makes this combo of that Saab and the F-16 incredibly deadly for precise strikes. And those mobile command centers and that Saab enabled the F-16 to do something miraculous. On June 7th, 2025, a Ukrainian F-16 downed a Russian Su-30 over Kursk, 10 miles inside of Russia. The Su-35 is a 4.5 generation jet, one of Russia's most advanced. It's said to also be able to have thrust vectoring and an airbases radar with a 250 nautical mile range and a top speed of 1,500 miles per hour. It was ambushed by that F-16 and the Saab 340. The Saab was likely orbiting about 300 miles away. It tracked the Su-35 and fed targeting data via Link 16 or voice to the F-16. The Viper then fired an AIM-120 AMRAAM, which hit it at somewhere around 50 nautical miles plus near Koronevo. The Russian pilot is said to have ejected safely. This is the first confirmed F-16 air-to-air kill by this older Viper with an AIM-120. So this is showing that a mobile F-16 transiting airfield to airfield to airfield after every mission can team up with that Saab and take down Russia's best fighters. This is a next level statement that these mobile F-16s are highly effective. And that Su-35 was toast. It was like Maverick's stiff arm move in Top Gun Maverick. The Saab's radar and the AMRAAM's range let the F-16 strike without its own radar, tipping off that Su-35 that the F-16 was right there. So Ukraine's F-16 ops are guerrilla warfare in the sky, and if you can't tell, this gets me a little bit excited. I mean, this is a whole new way to use the F-16, and it's definitely not easy. It's very complicated, but Ukraine is showing that it's effective. It's like insurgents hitting and then fading away into the night. They can use highways, abandoned airstrips that are slightly repaired and just able to get those F-16s airborne, because again, they might not use that airstrip again for months, but they've got those mobile vehicles that can move at 50 miles per hour plus. So fixed bases are death traps. Russian Iskander-M missiles with 300 nautical mile range and 4,600 mile per hour missiles, and KH-101 cruise missiles, which have a 1,700 mile range and 560 miles, can pound a site that is being used time and time again. Ukraine disperses, they strike fast, and then they vanish. They're supported by vehicles that turn any road into an airbase. This is a total rethink of air power, guys. Mobile complexes cut manpower. Missiles loading now 3 people instead of 10 or 12. And Ukrainian F-16s are said to have flown thousands of sorties from this mobile type mindset. They intercept Shahed drones, they down Russian cruise missiles, they bomb Russian command posts. But Russia's got their tactics as well, and they're hunting these F-16s with Shahed 136 drones that can loiter and wait for these F-16s to land and then strike. So Ukraine has to counter this with man-portable jammers like the Jeopard 35mm gun and Patriot SAMs, Anduril's Roadrunner, a truck-mounted interceptor, and Lattice AI sensors. They're deployable in minutes, and they could shield mobile bases from drone swarms. Likely these vans and these trucks are decked out with this anti-drone technology, and it would be very smart for them to continue to update this technology as Russia advances its tactics as well. So the US is definitely studying Ukraine's playbook for agile combat employment. Short, unpredictable missions from dispersed sites. Think the Marines using the F-35B, but they're doing this with a jet that doesn't have a short field takeoff and vertical landing capability. So Ukraine's never landing twice at the same airfield, and that keeps the enemy guessing. The US wants lighter bomber loaders, mobile refuelers, and Anduril-style anti-drone tech, and then also conflicts against Iran, being able to move quickly without having to relocate your entire base. Think being able to keep your jets in Qatar or the UAE, other bases closer to Iran, but having that mobile style that allows you to keep the enemy guessing on where your jets will actually be. That's something that the US is watching very closely. But what's Ukraine's future with this? I would say with those more F-16s up to 85, possibly even more, possibly Ukraine getting the JASSM that can launch from the F-16, and then a full Link 16 integration from that Saab to the F-16, and those anti-drone systems, those Roadrunners could protect the different bases. The challenges that Ukraine's going to face though are going to be many. I mean, they've got this new style of warfare down, and they're going to have to continue to stay good at this style of warfare, which I think they will. They've already tested it. They've got the ability to do it. So now it's just the consistency and making it happen day in and day out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And the best compliment you can give the channel is just watch this video right here. It helps the channel out a ton, and I really appreciate it. So I'll see you on this video right here. This is Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, also known as the fighter pilot next door, signing off.